Hello and welcome to Oddsock Comics. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I thought I'd go through some of the thought process that I use. I'm calling this video "Deciding to Sell," or how to decide when you should sell. So I've been collecting comic books for 2 years. I'm not exactly a master at when to hold and when to sell. Or how to identify what's going to boost or what to speculate on or anything like that. I can say that I'm very good at math and that I think about investment and making money and ROIs all the time. That's what I do for a living. And so a couple of the thought processes of, whether or not comic books are a realistic investment, those kinds of thoughts often come into my mind. And I think that I've determined a couple of keys for how to decide whether something is an investment or not. And basically what I've determined is that new comic books are not an investment. If you understand the market, you can flip them for a profit if you know how to manipulate. It's not that you're manipulating, but if you can predict the way that the market is going to be manipulated, which there is reason to believe that you can do that. And then if you're able to do the hustle, if you can get to the comic shop while they still have the popular books before they mark them up, whatever, you can make money if you flip things like within a week or two of when they start to pop. And you can make real money. But I think that I have determined that if you buy comic books, pack them away in a box, it will be very unlikely that your returns will be anything close to positive. And so because of that, I've had to make some decisions for myself for what I actually expect to get out of comic books. And there are two keys that I'm using in my thought process for what comic books I'm buying. Number one is I don't think that they're an investment. I'm not trying to invest in comic books. So I am buying comic books that I enjoy the art, and I'm buying comic books that I enjoy the story. So that my collection is not necessarily going to be something that's super valuable down the road or is going to have a return that's higher than the stock market or inflation or anything like that. They're things that I want to own. So if I keep that in mind for my collection, then I can't really go wrong because they're things that I want. So I'm not intending to sell them. So that's my personal collection. That's the art germ books that I have. Batman is the one that I'm reading. There are a couple of other books that I've decided to read. And you can't go wrong with that. But there are some things that you read, and there are some things that it just doesn't make sense to hold on to, or they're just taking up space. And that's kind of where I'm deciding how to handle those. So there are two ways. You can speculate, put them in a box, hope that they go up. My view is that in the long run, that's not a good choice. The other thing is you can take advantage of the market as it plays. And that's what I'm doing right now. So in front of you, I have the first full appearance of the Immortal Hulk, and then the Immortal Hulk number 2, which is the first appearance of Dr. Fry. And I have the entire run of Immortal Hulk up here. And I've been trying to decide. So I've been reading this. I got into it around book 9. And I went back, this was in early December, and I went back and picked up all of the back issues, all the way back to number 1. I bought Avengers 684 when it first came out. I was not reading the Avengers No Surrender line, but I picked up a couple of books. At the time, I actually had a really good conversation with Mark Brooks, who was doing the covers on Twitter, and I was appreciating his art. So I wasn't... I was okay collecting his art, but since then, he's actually blocked me on Twitter, and I know why, and it bothers me, and so I have very little connection to Mark Brooks's art right now, so I'm more than willing to get to move some of the Mark Brooks covers that I've got. But that was the reason that I bought this, not even really knowing that it was, the first full appearance of Immortal Hulk. But, so I bought this when it came out. Immortal Hulk number 2, I had to go back and buy that on eBay, and I ended up picking it up December 6th. I had to go back and look, and I paid $18.50 for it shipped. And that was just because I wanted to read it. I needed to get book number 2. And I couldn't find any second prints. I couldn't find anything in the shops around me for obvious reasons. It's the hot book. Well, since then, so Immortal Hulk 684, which I paid $4.99 for, Avengers 684, which I paid $4.99 for, plus tax, has gone up. It seems like it's going for between $40 and $50 for the most part. And then Immortal Hulk number 2 has really skyrocketed. It seems to be going for closer to $90. Now, I was thinking to myself, are those prices justified? Does that really make sense? And if you go back and think about some of the other character books that have skyrocketed in price or have held their value, I honestly don't think it does. I'm looking at these prices and I'm thinking, I think the Immortal Hulk number 2, probably long run, is maybe $30 or so. I think the Avengers No Surrender, this one's probably long run worth more, because Dr. Fry, we don't know a whole lot about it. We don't know that he's a huge, amazing villain. He may be way down the road, but we don't know enough to say that he's a character that's going to stick. So what's the probability really that that's a character that's going to stick and that the demand for this book is going to last? And I don't know that it's there. So thinking in those terms, right now is probably a good time to move away from this collection. And then I was thinking, okay, so the value is the highest. It's at its peak right now, from my view. It may go up in the future. It may, but I'll get back to why now is a fine time to sell, even if it goes up in the future. So right now is a great time. It is a fine time to sell, and the return is only going to decrease even if the value goes up, because there's no way that it can maintain its current trajectory. But as I'm thinking about this, the second question is, are these books that I want to hold on to? And I was thinking through this, and the Mark Brooks cover, if I was collecting Mark Brooks, would have been, but I'm not. And so there's not a lot of reason for me to try to hold on to this book right now. I'm not a huge Hulk fan. I'm not collecting any of the back issues of Hulk. In fact, the only Hulk issues that I want are 180, 181, because that's Wolverine, who's a character that I grew up with. Hulk is not my character. So with that in mind, there's not a lot of reason for me to keep the story. Now, I've been reading the story, and I think that it's a very, very good story. I'm not, Al Ewing, is that who's writing it? Yeah. Al Ewing is doing a great job of storytelling. Love what he's doing, and that's great. But for me, that's not enough to hold it. That's not enough for the value. That's not enough, honestly, for the space that it's taking up in my box. So I've decided that I am going to list these and get them sold. So I talked a little bit about, I'm just going to throw a couple of other books up here so that it's not just these books the whole time. So I've only got the second print of number 1. I never saw the first print. I showed you number 2. Got number 3, and I've had a couple of copies of this that I was able to find even later on. Number 4, I've only got the second print as well. I don't even know what the first print looked like there. Let's see, I've got 5. This is the cover B, which is not as interesting, but I bought this one before I read any of the story because I thought Cosmic Ghost Rider was a cool character, and I thought that was a cool cover, Raza. Let's see. And then I've got the A covers, the Alex Ross covers, all the way through. Number 9 is important, apparently. The Green Door. The first appearance of the One Below All. Honestly, I think number 16 was really interesting. I liked that one. But I've got all of these, and they're just taking up space right now. So I think I'm going to continue to buy the story run and read it as it comes out. But there's not a lot of reason for me to hold these books. This isn't a collection that I'm going to want to keep forever. So that's what I've decided, is that I'm going to move these. I think that overall they're probably pretty valuable. I did a quick calculation, though, for book number 2, which I paid As I said, I paid $18.50 for it on December 6th. That was about 4 months ago, and it is now worth about $90. So I pulled out all of the costs associated with selling it. If I were to sell it for $90, take out my eBay fees, take out my shipping costs, take out my PayPal costs, take out the bag and board, the 17 cents that's on it right now, take out the cost of the box that I ship it in, take all of that out, come to a kind of a net cash flow when I sell it, and then I did a quick calculation to figure out what the return is. And the return right now, the compound annual growth rate, CAGR, is about 4,000%. And that's where I'm like, there is never a point in time that this is going to be higher than it is right now. There may have been some points in the past, a couple weeks ago, it was still worth $90. Would have been better from a CAGR perspective to sell it a couple of weeks ago. So it's only going to go down from here, and there is no way that the growth of this book, that the value of this book can keep up with that kind of a CAGR. So it's only going to go down. So it's much better for me to sell it now, even if it goes up, doubles in price in the next couple of weeks. It would be just fine for me to sell it now from a CAGR perspective. CAGR is not everything. It's not the only thing that you keep track of. Obviously, you want cash flow. You want to think about what your alternatives are if you're trying to make money. For me, the alternatives are I'm going to take this money and I'm going to put it into books that belong in my collection. So I'm going to put it into Hulk 180 or something like that. And that's a great thing to do with this. So that's my thought process. That's how I decided that now is a great time to try to move these books and see what I can do with those. I'm not trying to sell these to you. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to link to my eBay page or anything like that. And I'm not encouraging anybody else to sell these books. If they fit in your collection, keep them. They're great books. I just think in the long run, they're probably not worth what they are today, and the return is never going to be as high as it is today. So that's why I've decided to do it. And I just wanted to talk through some of that logic, some of the thought process that goes on as you're trying to decide, whether to hold something, whether to sell something, whether it belongs in your collection or not. I love selling things. I love, anytime that you make a voluntary transaction, there's value that's created. So I think that the Immortal Hulk is worth something like $20 because that's what I paid for it, and I would be willing to pay $20 for it today, even if it were not supposed to be part of my collection. Somebody else thinks that it might be worth $9,500, so they're going to pay that much to get the book. We just created $80 worth of value that's new in the world. Now I get most of that. I'm going to take like $65 of that. The other guy's going to take like 10. But that's just the way that the split works in this particular transaction, because I know that the value that the other people have is so much higher, and he's got to compete with more people than I do. Anyway, that's standard economics. But there's value created just by me putting this back out in the market. There's value created in comic books. I get to take that $80 and I'm going to put it into a book that I value more. So this is something that supports the comic book industry. This is why secondary markets are awesome, and I love them. So there's a lot of economics. This is the thought process that I tend to go through. I know this is a little bit of a weirder video. It's not really a show-off video. It's not really a comic book industry. It's more of a discussion of economics, hobbies, defining value, and things like that. But I hope it was interesting. I hope that it gives you some insight into how maybe I'm looking at comic books and how other people might be. I'm really interested to kind of hear if you guys have any thoughts on, when to sell, when to hold on to things. How do you determine if a book, what a book's speculative value is? If it's something that you think you can hold on and get a better return if you hold off for a little while. I can do the math on those things, and I've done the math on a few of them. And there are some distinct points in time, and unless you're just speculating on everything, you just have massive long boxes across the wall. And I think that if you're doing that, your average speculation value is probably pretty low. But that's I'm curious to see if somebody else is able to work it out better than that. And if you ever want to talk about investment or thoughts, that's something that I love. If you're like, what can I do? How can I get the most value out of this? Or what should I do here? I would love to talk about that. Let me know. But that's all I've got for today. I've got to pull out I hope I've got it. Is my contest book around? It is. So I always put out, while I'm in the middle of a run of a contest, I'm going to put out my contest book whenever I talk. So this is the giveaway that I've got right now. I'm going to link a video below. If you haven't commented on that video to enter the contest, please do. I want to give this book away. I want as many people as possible. I know it seems like it's higher probability if you don't tell people about it, but please tell people about it anyway, because everybody deserves a chance. This is just a fun giveaway. It's not a hyper valuable comic book or anything. It's just a fun one. Let everyone know about it. So I'm going to give away the first appearance of Monica Rambeau on May 15th. So you've got a little less than a month to enter the competition to get this book for free. That's shipping and everything. You pay nothing if you win. So that's it for today. I'm still working on a sign-off. Found a couple of really funny ones. I think I'm going to try one maybe in my next video. But for now, this is all I've got. So, I don't know, keep on hunting, I think. Is that one? Anyway, we'll see you later.